How you guys doing? Um, I was trying to think of a topic today, and somehow I came up with the idea that I suppose all of us, in some ways, face, and that has to do with the the quality and the quantity. But sometimes it's more difficult to do than easier said than done. Hey, Mark, Brian, how you doing? Tony, Ray. Oh, good. Everything's working. Thank you. Thank you guys both. Hi, Michael. Um, I I think I may have shot myself in the foot with this topic because I I was thinking about it, and there's I just I don't know the answer to my own question. If I keep thinking of five watches. I'll put it in. Let, let me try to put it in concrete terms. Um, hey, Junior, let's say that uh, there are five watches that you can think of that are around 10,000. Okay. So if you had five of them, that would be $50,000 in watches. On the other hand, if there's a $50,000 watch that would really be great to have, which one would you rather have? I was thinking, Mark, I know you have an FP Journe, one of the Havanas, and that would probably be considered by a lot of people a great watch. It's not quite 50,000, but it's up there. You can, let's say we throw in a an FP Journe, what a Chronomet Optima. I like that watch, and I can't afford it, but you know I got some other my collection sort of got up there through no fault of my own. I was minding my own business, and my it grew. So how's that for a dumb answer? I don't know. I got it. Yeah, you need both. Michael, I agree. Hi, Dr. Bob. How you doing? Who has just five watches? That's a good point. Very good point. Hey, Blake, forgot to watch. Forgot a watch. I want some more hair. My shirt is thinning now. Oh, it's not your shirt. Um, okay. Hey, Von Cruel. I wanted to buy a new piece, but I'm going to fix my hair instead. All right. Go fix your hair. We all have ours. Uh, my hair is what happened. I used to have a lot of hair, and it turned into my beard. So, what can I do? Oh, hi, Ed. Hey, Ray. Quality over quantity, unless you have a strict budget limit. Well, this is, you know, I don't know what if you say, okay, let's say $5,000 watches, and you get some good watches for 5,000. So that would be a $25,000 watch. Um, I think there's a certain level after which, and it depends on how many resources you see coming. I don't know. It's you're right, Blake. It is a real one. Hi, Alex. I got my Grand Prix casquette. It's a beauty. My 21st luxury watch purchase, and it was a quartz. Huh. Hi, Vinyl. Rustem. Any new gear watches for us? I recently discovered Cyrus watches. What is your? I haven't discovered Cyrus watches yet, so you you're way ahead of me on that one. Brian, I'm going back to the beginning. I would trade the first 10 watches for my first good watch. I just don't know how it holds true when you're in the $50,000 and above. What used to be 20,000 is now 50,000. And so that's another sort of wrinkle, I suppose, in there. The ghost of Yiddish Gambino. The perfect size watch collection is always one more than you currently have. I found a blank pawn Le Mans for 4K. Yeah, that's another thing too. You can find really very good watches for reasonable prices. I mean, usually the trick has always been is that you find quality where other people don't see it. I had mentioned the other day I had been, and I still do. I said, if you want a really good watch for a great price, get a Chaumet Dandy. 99% of what you're getting is world-class jewelry. Let's be frank about it. Somehow though, the ETAs that are in the Chaumet seem to be really good ones. And in some, they even have a dual Agenor Agonese disc gearing. And so, yeah, I think if somebody, and we're talking under $2,000. Anyway, when I had been bugging Fernando, I think I bugged Brian also and some other people who were silly enough to listen to me. He said, get that watch. It's really a good watch. Well, the other day when we were having coffee, Fernando brought that thing in he had got. My God, it's a really good watch. So when we talk about, I don't know, the quality or having a really high quality watch versus having one that's a pretty good one, I don't know. I've got on my Larique today, and this watch has always been, especially now, it's just was a wonderful first watch for Larique. And we're waiting on number 2 and number 3. And we're planning number 4. But I mean, my God, there's so much that goes into that. By the time you get your head above water, something. Age and life activities emphasize the amount of watches you needs. You needs? I needs lots. I think I'd worry too much wearing a $50,000 watch. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that, Junior. That's a very good point. I'd feel nervous wearing a $50,000 watch that people knew was a $50,000 watch. You can wear a $15 Rolex and get mugged quicker than you can a 40,000. I think that's what they cost now. $45,000 Chanel, Monsieur Chanel. So that's sort of another wrinkle to it. Or even you could probably wear a Romain Gauthier or a Gerbel Forcé, George Daniels, and the muggers. I want the Rolex. So you Rolex guys, watch out. Oh, Cyrus are made by Mojan. I think I do know what those are, Rustam. I was looking at them a while ago. Yeah, I think I do know what they are. They're a very different, interesting one. Thanks, Von Kruel. Hey, Vinyl, I collect watches and make memories. Hard to sell any watches for me for that reason, but I have noticed that often people settle for less because they aren't patient, end up buying both. That's a good point. Patience is part of the name of the game. I cannot tell you. Right now, I've got 3 watches just this year that are coming in. 2 of them are Lariques. One we ran into an oxidation problem. They're fixing it. I think I may be getting a watch that I like a lot better, simply because they solve the oxidation problem. And the one I'm really looking forward to is the Arizulu. Plus, then I have another one that I'm not going to get. That's not coming until December. But the thing of it is my God, I've got 2 cases of watches I really like, I really enjoy, and so I don't know. Oh, come on. I mean, I should be complaining about having nice watches. I'm not. I just, it's sort of like there are other watches that are really nice I'd like too. I better shut up. What else you guys have? Hey, vinyl. I collect. Okay, you make those. Okay, watch collection is also about admiring watches that I can never buy. That is a good point, vinyl. That's a very good point. I could never afford $1 million Dufour Simplicity or Duality or something like that, but I would really like to see one. Someone comes along and they say, "Hey, I got this." Yes, I could admire it. I might feel like whoever said, "I don't know about wearing a $50,000 watch." I'd be nervous. I think I'd probably feel that way with certain watches as well. How many watches do you change a day? Usually I just wear one, but sometimes I'll wear more than one. I'll go on, have one, and put on another one. I I was waiting for a TV show, I think last night or night before, I forgot what it was. And there's this program called Shark Tank that came on. And there's this guy who was on Shark Tank. He had two watches up. Okay. Unfortunately, no. Okay, now the whole system froze. Is it back now? Did that work? I reconnect NVM. We are back. Okay, great. All right. Is everything working okay now? I think I've learned how to do it. There's something called reconnect, and I don't lose this, but I get all of this stuff down. Is anybody still here? we, we had everybody. I'm not going to watch this buffering. Okay, those of you who are left and can still hear me, what else we got? Everybody, oh, wait a minute. No, we got everyone's coming back, it looks like. Hey, is the buffering gone now? Yes, no? Still buffering? Oh, hey. Oh, good. Oh, we're back. Yeah. Is the Von Cruel, can you guys hear and see me okay? Oh, good. Great. And no buffering. I found out what I had to do. There's something that's called reconnect. I didn't know it existed. And so all I had to do was to reboot or just sort of hit that little thing. It goes like that. Oh, okay. We get a little more time. I think the biggest downside of getting one expensive is Mrs. finding out about 50K disappearing. Yeah, there's that too. I, you know, I, I think what somebody said, and there's a certain patience that you can end up with a $50,000 watch for a fraction of that. One watch I have originally, they had 2 models. One was 110,000 and the other was 55,000. And it was a watch I'd always wanted. And one day I was minding my own business, and I saw this watch, and it was at about half of that price, and I didn't even have half of that price, and so I simply mentioned, I said, "Hey, if it ever gets down to here, let me know." The guy called me back and said the guy'd take it. It wasn't even an offer. It was simply like sort of one of those things. So patience, I think you're right. If you're patient, you're going to run into somebody who has a watch you want. They're going to need money or something. They didn't end up liking the watch as much as they thought, and presto changeo, suddenly you've got the watch. So you have the $50,000 watch plus the other five watches, simply because you were patient, kept your eye out for it. I don't know. I believe in that, but that's almost like believing in fairy tales. Unfortunately, since watch collection is a type of fairy tale itself, maybe that's what we ought to do. Something else that I saw was it it's one of those things. There was this person who had all of these, had gone out and they had done some research. I got to hand it to him for that. But they showed how this one watch company, their share of the market kept going down. And two things, two reasons behind that. One is people aren't buying their watches anymore. And the other one is that their position is going down, not because they're going down. They could have the same amount, but other ones are going up and pushing them down. And so I don't know. That does a position really, talking about a $50,000 watch versus a $10,000 watch, does their position in the marketplace have an effect for very long? Or is it simply like, yeah, they're popular today, who knows what they're going to be tomorrow? What do you guys think? I've had a great time with affordable sub 1,000 watches, but I've already found a few that I love, and also I'll feel ready, knowledge wise, to spend more. It's a matter of funding and pacing. That's true. That's very true. Um, when I got I'll say my first really high horology watch, well, I thought I was getting one when I paid $300 for a Raymond Weil. But I thought, boy, I'm really up in the tall cotton now. But of course, it wasn't. So when I bought a Patek Philippe, and I think I ended up paying 4,500 for it, and it was pre-owned, and they sent it to me. It was in perfect shape, but it was a little later on. I sort of, after had it for a while, it was a little small. Um, this one's 39 millimeters, and it's a very comfortable size, and so I can go up to about a 42. And but I also found out I can go down to a 36, and so there's a sort of a range in there for that. And so what you're saying, Von Krul, about these the what you spend, I thought when I spent $4,500, this was it. I'm never going to spend that much again in my whole life. And of course, I was wrong, but I ended up selling the watch and made a little from it, but not trying to. I just wanted to sell it, and sometimes it wasn't a great bargain, but it was more than I paid for it. Other watches, same thing has happened, not because I was trying to, but just because that those things happen. And I think what you're saying, Von Krul, too, is very important. Also, what you said, Ray, with the patience and the knowledge, the more patience and knowledge you have, the more likely you're to find a real gem. Because, especially if you're looking where everybody else isn't looking. Um, then you can. To me, those are the things. And if somebody says you shouldn't buy it here, listen to them and then go there and buy it. I I learned that lesson from Federico. He told me not to go to 47th Street, and that was where I ended up getting both of my FP Journes for what now would be considered almost a giveaway. Yikes! Wow. Now that's a lot. I mean, you know, I know I've spent more than that, but that's a lot of money. That's another thing. Our heads get into this place where we spend money on watches that's just insane. I just, and sometimes we get a great deal for an insane amount of money, and we think we did great. Not looking at our bank account drying up, and this is one of the things. Let me talk just a little about Larique. This is why the reason we did this was that we ended up with the famous one had a champagne budget. I mean, a champagne taste with beer budget, and so it didn't take long really to figure out. Say, look, what are these guys doing? They're buying um, movements. They're buying cases. They're buying dials. They're buying hands and straps. And then you pay somebody to put it together. And um, and from my own background, I know that the markup is about 10. At least it was in publishing, and now in the markup in watches, I understand it's about 6. And so if somebody has let's say spends $5,000 to create a watch, 6 times that is $30,000. And so, I mean, now when I'm talking about spending, I'm talking about basic manufacturing costs. But a real watch company is going to have all of these other expenses. They're going to have the expense of marketing, advertising, shipping, warehousing, and then they have a big discount. I mean, somebody who's an FP Patek Philippe dealer is selling the watches with um, Patek Philippe looking over their shoulder for roughly twice of what they paid for it. And so if somebody buys a Patek Philippe for 30,000, right now your intro Calatrava is about 30,000. And so they paid 15 for it. And they have to make a profit. So if you're looking at that, then you can imagine that's half of that one expense. That doesn't include the marketing and all of these other ones. And that's what we tried to do with Larique. We went to top watchmakers, top movement makers, top this, top everything. And while it's not been easy, and it's on, it's well worth it. And I encourage other people to do it. I said, "Oh, you're giving away trade secrets." No, I'm not. It's just if anybody wants to do something like that, I think it's a great idea because what you're really doing, the way I look at it, is they're saying, "Oh, you're screwing some people." No, 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 no. No one's getting screwed. What we're doing is we're providing a whole market that didn't exist before. And that market is made up of people who really want to have these really good watches, but they don't have basically 6 times what the manufacturing of that watch is. And so the people in Switzerland were bringing in a lot of money. It cost us about $1 million a watch, roughly. I mean, we're spending about $1 million a piece for each watch. We're also getting bespoke movements. we're getting our choices up to a point of design. And when I say up to a point, it costs money. People say, well, when somebody says, oh, well, you should have better finishing. Yeah, you could, but then you find out how much finishing costs and to what extent you can afford it with all these other things that are going on. I'll tell you, for a lesson and watchmaking and the watchmaking business, it's been really, really a good experience. Okay, I didn't mean to go off on that tangent, but I'm glad that secondary market is coming back to sanity, hopefully more MSRP and ad prices. Me too, Ray. I agree with that. Hi, Belinda. How you doing? How much did the Larique watches cost? Well, what we planned and what we ended up with, I would say roughly around 10,000 each. We had what we did, and this is how we could all afford it. We had about roughly around $3,300 in three payments. Now, we ran into some problems. Like this one problem we ran into cost us $50,000 extra. I mean, this is why you got to be very, very careful. And there are things that happen that are not happy things that you've got to deal with, and you know makes it really interesting. Hi, Belina. I'm doing good. Last week I had a great experience at the FP Yarn Boutique in New York. Oh, really? Did you run into William? Did you run in? Hi, William. We used to go to the FP Jorn up on, when it was up on Madison Avenue. And we would walk in there and there'd be some guard at the door and she'd let us in or he'd let us in. We'd go in there and chit chat and eat as much chocolate as we could. and, then go somewhere else. But yeah, they have. I I was at the one down on Mercer Street not long ago. Had a ball. Had a great time with William. So anyway, glad to hear that. I mean, $500 Seagull and Honzu Tourbillon should tell you the cost of watchmaking. It really is not that expensive to make watches. There are different kinds of traditions going on, Ray. It there's a let me see if I can sort of walk you through what we deal with now. I know putting a watch together because I made my own tourbillon from this one company, this one Chinese company, and I bought the movement, the case, and the dial and everything for my little tourbillon. It cost me maybe $150 for the whole thing. So I know what you're saying is true, but it's not quite the same as some of these other ones. And by and large, too, I think, and this is just my opinion, anybody who spends like double the cost, you buy a watch and then they put a tourbillon in it and suddenly it's doubled up. This includes watch companies I like very much. I think it's nuts. Uh, and so if I want to get mesmerized by a tourbillon, I can pull my tourbillon out. Also, too, I got a great one from Peacock, which is a Chinese company. Man, they not only they had a great looking tourbillon, a great looking case. It reminded me of a Grand Seiko, but it was like about 3K is all it was, but nice. Everything was nice about it. So yeah, there's that, and God knows where the economy is going. It's bonkers how the actual cost of making luxury watches gets multiplied by a few factors. It does, but here's the thing, Von Cool. This is what I was thinking. I'm sure a lot of other people have too. The what it cost, the real cost of it. Now, I think one of the wow, Foreman, you live down in the financial district, then I take it. Um, the multipliers are simply those beyond the manufacturer. Now, the ours costs what we pay for our watches is pretty close to what the manufacturing cost is, and that's not cheap. At least with the Swiss watches. I'd love to see the inside of one of these Chinese watchmakers. Is there machinery, modern, old stuff? Who cares? Good watchmakers. You see, you take guys like who's that French kid that makes these fabulous watches, and I think he prides himself on having the same machinery that Abraham Breguet has. All of these beautiful pieces that he makes. I don't know how much of it. I mean, if you want modern machinery, take a look at Tag Heuer. They got a robot, I think, who makes all of their stuff. Really interesting. I'm going to try to get the Chronomet Surveying Havana. I think the movement in it is the most beautiful FP makes. I couldn't agree more. I have that same movement in my Chronomet Surveying. It's not the Havana. It's just it's one I like though. It's in a platinum case, and again, this I got way back when, and way back when wasn't that many years ago. It must have been about 8 or 9 years ago, where everything was very, very different, and it may go back to that again too. Hey, Junior, I guess we're both back. Yeah, I've got the white dial. Yeah, and it's here's something else too about that. One of the things about our second Lurique watch is that we wanted to have um, Guy Lochet, and we wanted to have it done with actually done. Um, FP Journe watches have stamped Guy Lochet, and so help me God, I'll tell you before I go through another real Guy Lochet again. I Stamped Guy Lochet is fine. They use Clos de Paris, and that dandy. I I've seen some of the beautiful stuff that Kari Voutilanen does with Guy Lochet, but man, I'll tell you. Hey, Velvia, man. My first expensive watch was the most expensive. Now I have 20 watches that cost less, and I like them all. Yeah, yeah. Some of my early ones, the one I recently sold was one of my earlier ones, and I enjoyed it for many, many years. Surprised no manufacturer is crowing about case finishes with robot precision. No shaky hand can match. No, they're not crowing about it, but believe me, I'll tell you, I would be very happy with an affordable. I don't know. The Germans are the ones that have sort of on the balance cock. They have all of this engraving that they do, and on my Langenheim, I see that, and I wonder, well, you could probably something that they're going to whip up that can do all of that. Right now, the what we get from Agenor, excuse me, what we get from Agenor is really very traditional uh, handmade watchmaking, and they the parts they'll order all the parts from all of these little companies that specialize in certain parts. The amount of polishing, the type of polishing, the type of screws, every little single detail is amazing. It's just crazy kind of detail that goes into it. And then they get it all together and put it together, and then they take that and they have to take the case and the all of these different parts, and they have to be assembled, and we finally end up with a watch. But this went through a lot. This was a bespoke. The just the manufacturing cost of the case was 2,000 Swiss franc, just the case. And that doesn't include advertising and everything else. Just, they had to mill them and do everything else with them. And I really like it. But I thought, wait a minute, I can get a case for $25 from AliExpress. What is going on here? I wonder how much extra difficulty there really is in a tourbillon. Why would it really cost more than a chronograph? Somebody had said that the double hairspring was more difficult than a tourbillon. And then I think tourbillon sort of took on a characteristic of being like sort of a notch on somebody's career. Like, oh, I did a watch and there's a tourbillon in it. But I agree, Van Cruel. Man, those things, my Peacock and then the one I made myself, that thing works beautifully. It's sort of nuts. I want the platinum case model as well. That's why I have a platinum. I'll have platinum in the case and rose gold in the movement. Well, that'll be it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what mine has. I really like it. Hi, Eric. I make sure all my watches have a silicone hairspring. That's how I know they're great. Yeah. Hey, Patel, what's your favorite Fusee chain piece? I don't have one really. I tell you, if I had one, it'd probably be the Longa Unsunda, because that's one of the few that I know that you can put on your wrist. I I'm I I once I looked into how a Fusee and chain were done. It's just like, man, there are very few ways you can do that without having a big fat watch. I like to try to get a Chronomet Blue, but I think that's out of the question for now due to the wait list. The thing about the Chronomet Blue, they're very popular. They're made out of, what is that stuff? Tantalum, and they don't have a power reserve indicator. That was why I didn't get a Chronomet Blue. I mean, back then I could have picked up a Chronomet Blue and, without a problem. I wish I'd picked up about a dozen of them back then, but that's another story. But I got the watch that I got because I like the power reserve indicator. And, the thing about a platinum watch in terms of mugging, well, I can't tell the difference. If somebody's walking down the street with a platinum or white gold or steel, I can't tell the difference, nor in my own watches. My Ovale and my double hairspring and my Fabergé Alexi, those are all white gold. And you look at them, they look like steel. To me, they do anyway. Somebody who's smarter in those things than I am, I'm sure could tell the difference. Chinese watchmaking is getting more interesting. That Peacock you acquired recently is a good example. I agree, Van Cruel. Years ago, I mean this, when I first started doing these kinds of videos, and I think next year it'll be 10 years. I can't believe it, that long. But I had said back then, I think something's going to come out of China that's really going to shake things up. I think what China needs, and I think they probably have, somehow they're not coming out, are guys like Jaime Ahsoka. If you go to the website where they have the independent watchmakers, you'll see I think there are 2 or 3 Chinese watchmakers, also from Singapore. That's another source. So those are some interesting places to keep an eye out for. But I think you're right. You see it now. You can find a pretty good deal on perpetual calendars, I think. Minute repeaters, yeah, kind of curious. Yeah, I don't know. Ray, are you sure about the perpetual calendars? You may be right. But I agree with you. Yes, they're very expensive, and fortunately, I have no yen for either one of them. Minute repeaters. My hearing is so crummy, I couldn't hear them. I'd need a big bin noise going off. Hey, Abens92, how you doing? My take is you don't to own what you like in order to appreciate it. So buy it only if you wear it. Good point. So keep a tight fixed number, and if it comes out of the box, one has to go out and present it to have it. 8. I have 8. Interesting thoughts. Hi, Tom. How you doing? What do you think about Girard-Charles watches? The year that they first came out, or maybe they were reintroduced, this is just a couple of years ago. I saw them at the Watch Time show. Went and took a look at them, and they're nice watches. They're good looking watches. I forgot what movement they had in them, but I like the looks of them. They have the tonneau shape, I guess. It's funny. There's a difference between watches that I like and watches that I'd ever really consider getting, and I think Girard-Charles is one that I like, but it's just nothing in there that I really want to get. I like power reserve indicator as well. It's even better than that it's at 3 o'clock. Yeah, that's a funny thing about that. I one of the odd things is that I'm not resentful of it, but close to it, of why they would put a power reserve indicator on an automatic, because an automatic, to no small extent, depends on how much you're wearing it and everything. And so if you're not wearing it too much, the old power reserve will go down faster. But if you're, sort of active, you're typing or you're doing something else with, you're at your Pilates class, whatever people jump around with, and the old thing is winding away. And so your power reserve indicator, I wonder if it's stuck. But I like power reserve indicator. That's one of my favorite little complications. The other one, somebody mentioned earlier that they like the movement in the Chronomet's Sylvain. That the reason I like it so much is because they have the dual barrels in parallel, and it keeps. That is why. And there's something about that watch too. There are a lot of watches I've had for a while, and there aren't too. It's getting fewer and fewer. Getting to the point where every one of them is fun to wear, and I look forward to it. Oh boy, I'm going to wear this one tomorrow, and enjoying this one. My Larique number 1 is with with the with a slightly off small seconds. They're like at 8:45 rather than 9 o'clock. We wanted it that way, and how they clipped off everything of the 8, but this little piece of it sticks out. It drives some people crazy. I love it. It just it makes it unique. But that was what we wanted. We wanted something different. Oh, F.P. Journe's opening up a museum. One of the things that F.P. Journe had that is, to me, was fascinating. He has a collection of watches made out of gunmetal. And at some point, I'm trying to think what it was called, but he produced, I think it was a Chronomet Sylvain made out of, it was out of Holland and Holland shotguns. He thought, boy, that'd be neat. And so you can get a Holland and Holland F.P. Journe. I was thinking of getting a Holland and Holland, but I don't know what I'd do with it. My wife wouldn't let me get it anyway. So Hi, Tim. How you doing? Quality, not quantity. Yeah, but you've got both, Tim. So what are you going to do? See, you're up a creek. You got quality and quantity. I happen to know that, Tim. Once you started giving up those silicon ones and started getting your FP Jorns, yeah, the dual barrel is nice. What's your favorite complication on a watch? Jeez, I like retrogrades. Man, do I love retrogrades. That's one complication. I've got several. I like the dual barrels and parallel. I really like those a lot. I like the power reserve indicator. Let's see. Another thing I like is sort of unique is that on the, I don't know if it's on the newer ones, but on the ones I have on the H. Moser, is that they have the power reserve indicator on the back. Those are really cool because here you have this clean dial and you can nothing else but the hour, the minute, and the seconds, but on the back you can see the power reserve indicator real quick. You're putting it on, you can check it out quickly. Hi, Owen. How you doing? Bellena, 1 2 3. I love the CS movement. Appears that the balance isn't attached to the main movement since the gear train. Yeah, they have that other thing. Oh, I'll tell you another thing I like. This is one that I swear I'm going to see if I can talk them into it. When I was in Geneva, I had a meeting with Jean-Marc Viderat. He doesn't like me. he said, I've always tried to talk him into do more work, and he's retired. So I'm a pest. But I said, what I'd really like, and Owen, this is this would sort of the ideal isn't is it's not for Lyrique, but it's not exclusively for Lyrique. It's for all Watts collectors. Would be a movement where you can, like the one that's on the Langenheim Georg, where you can see the from the starting with the barrel and then the barrel going down to the gear train and down to the escapement. You can see the whole thing, and it's not done with skeletonizing. It's done with these little finger bridges. Man, I'll tell you, that would be the neatest thing, because I think every time you look at it, you're reminded how they work. That would be a really cool thing. Agengraph, man. Ray Art, Holland and Holland. There's a guy that lives not far from me. If you go online, you can find Holland and Hollands for, like watches in the used market. And of course, they have different levels of quality and everything. So, yeah, there probably are. A new one probably cost a 10K. My God, they're almost as expensive as our watches. Those guys, those crazy gun people. The power reserve on a manual winder. From the past 4 years, I heard that of F.P. Journo conclude that he is a case study for enthusiasts that never gets conclusion. I don't know. I he's I've met him just really once, and he was great to me. I mean, I had a great experience with him, and I've heard horror stories going the other way. But his stuff I like, but I think the only other watch of his that I really want to have, I love Chronomet Sylvain, would be one of the ones with the Remontois Galatea in it, like the Optima. But otherwise, I just like having the one I have. I'm not one that have to collect a whole bunch of them. Same with Chanel. I really like it. Would I rather have a Romain Gauthier? Sure, why not? But I really, really like it. But I wouldn't, if they start making a bunch more, I wouldn't think, well, I got to have more of those. That's another thing too. Some watches I ended up with a lot more of than I planned on. Ended up with 4 Parmigianis. I think I'm down to 3 now. But I really sort of wanted 2 of each if I'm going to have ones I really like. I ended up with a couple of Vacheron Constantins. One is I keep calling it a Meteor of Meta. I keep getting that name mixed up. But now I have 2. It wasn't to get another one, but rather, I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason, I think, to our enthusiasm. Hi, Stephen. How you doing? Too many watches leads to paralysis of choice. Does it really? Does anything lead to our paralysis? The next thing you know, you're tapping in an offer on Chrono 24 and they accept it. Like, oh my God. Hey, Tom, the movement is like Parmigiani Fleurier. Yeah, I like the Parmigiani Fleurier. I like a lot. They have, the movements are by, I know Vacher makes them, but they're designed by Michel Parmigiani. Retrograde, regulator, jumping hours, wandering hour are cool. What do you think of Xerox watches? Miyota based. I love those, JB. Those Xerox watches. You look at a Xerox and you see how simple ingenuity makes a very interesting watch. And that's one. And they're very affordable. And like you say, they got a Miyota movement in it. And if you want an interesting one, yeah, those are very interesting. Are you going to try to try to get a new FP Jorn piece? Mm-mm. I mean, there's a guy that I know. He had one that I liked. It was a mother of pearl Optima, and at some point of time, I think I could have topped him into selling it, but I think he sold it to somebody else in the price after they went way up. So I don't know. It's like the quality of watches. There's so many different options you have right now that are really excellent quality watches. That's nice. Hi, Mike. I'm 50. So look, Mike, when you say you're 50, to me, you're saying I'm still a kid. Okay, what's going on? And I am looking for a watch to buy. I own Tag Heuers and Hamilton, so I was going to buy a Rolex or an Omega. What would you advise? Well, I'm sort of gone. I don't buy Omegas. I I admire the history of Omegas, but I wouldn't have one now simply because they put those stupid silicon hairsprings. On the other hand, Rolex is a nice watch. The ones I like aren't necessarily the most popular ones. So I'll tell you the ones I like, and you can decide what you want to do. I like the Air King. I know they're not popular, but I like the ones with the Bloodhound dials. And the Bloodhound dial was made after, for some strange reason, there was a Land racer called the Bloodhound, and I think it's an English one. And they were trying to set a world speed record with the thing. I think it got like a rocket in it or something, but they wanted a dial for it, a instrument panel, and for some reason they got Rolex to do it for them. And so Rolex made this dial, and then at some point somebody said, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we use that same dial in the Air King?" They did. I thought that's really great. What would be an ideal one if you want to get a Rolex? There at one time the Milgauss, which they 86, the Milgauss and the Air King had the same movement that had a Faraday box in it, and this is to minimize magnetization. So if you go poking around, first of all, find out the movement that the Milgauss used with a Faraday box in it, and then find Air Kings with the same movement. Now that I think would be a nice buy, and it's got nothing to do with being 50. Okay. Or another thing, I tell you, another neat buy that I would probably really go for is a pre 2009 Patek Philippe. Patek Philippe, what is it? Oh, like, oddly enough, I think I know the number on it is something like 5120 or something like that. But they have some beautiful watches, and again, pre 2009, you can get some just wonderful Patek Philippe's for that. I'd rather have one of those more than an Omega or the other. As far as Omega is concerned, if you can get one with the original 318 Moon watch, that'd be a nice one. Another one that would be better than either one of those would be, and you can get a pretty good price on them, is a Vacheron Constantin Quadrille. Brand new. You can still find those. They were not popular, but they are good looking, and they're really good watches because they have the same 5100 movement in it that came out with the new overseas a few years ago. Sorry. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to go off too much for you. Okay. My favorite complications, pointer date. I like pointer dates too. I call them hand dates, but yeah, I like those a lot. They're way easier to tell at a glance because of the angle they are. Yeah, I like those a lot too, Van Cruel. Jumping hours, retrograde minutes. Wandering hours is a little much. I'd be confused. I'm confused anyway, but I mean, that would really throw me for a loop. Forbin, you're misbehaving again, and we can't even blame it on Rancher. Jumping hour, minutes, seconds is one of the most interesting family of Yeah, yep. It's bonkers what they ask for a Speedmaster now. Yeah, they've gone way up. Abens, Mike Tiley. My suggestion would be to go to independents like Bissinger, Lane, or Garrick. They offer a lot of customization. I would probably pick 5 watches around 6,000 USD over a single 30,000 watch. For sure, if I was budget is only around 6,000 total, 60,000 total. Benzinger is the only skeleton watch worth their salt, in my opinion. Absolutely beautiful. Ah, boy, I tell you, I'm not a Rolex fanboy, so I tell you, the thing to do, Mike, is to go to one of the Rolex sites where they got a lot of Rolex guys, and they tell you, they give you some good advice on that. Like I said, I'm just not. I never bought a Rolex, and I for some reason, I just never wanted one. Nothing wrong with them. I did at one time. I wanted one of their Princes, and I do like the now discarded Yachtmaster 2 because they had that cool regatta countdown thing, but not into Rolex at all. And I think some of the other advice you have from some of the other guys, look around, really look around, find out about the movements, find out about a lot of stuff. There's no rush, especially since you're so young. You're only 50. You know, good grief. What are your thoughts on the 36 millimeter Vacheron Constantin 1921? Is it worth it at the current market, low 20s? Wow, that sounds like a pretty good deal. The one I have, my 1921 is 40, and I got to tell you, it wears big for a 40 millimeter. This one's 39, and it doesn't. This just sort of wears, I think, what I think was like it's a good size. It's not too big. It's not too small. It's sort of the Goldilocks rule, right in the middle, perfect size. Really enjoy it. So a 36 millimeter, the one I got the Vacheron Constantin Maricore. I forgot the name of my new watch. I want to call it a Meteor. It's ah. Anyway, that's 36 millimeters, and it is fine. It could be 40 millimeters, and it probably wouldn't affect me one way or the other. So a 36 millimeter 1921 might be a good buy. But here on those things, go down to a Vacheron Constantin dealer and try one on. See if it fits you the way you want it to. Usually, I don't get a chance to do that. I'll see something online and go for it. One watch that surprised me was the size of it. I still love it. Is my Ovale. It's sitting on top of a hebdomadari movement, and then it's got those telescopic hands and stuff. But that's the any hebdomadari is a big watch, so those are nice if you like those. Pointer date is a reasonable way to present the information. I like those. Yeah, I like, and I call them hand dates. They're pointer dates. They're also. What about Monaco tag? Love those watches. I like the what's it called? The colors is sort of like an orange and blue. It's an oil company. I forgot the name of it, but it's a Tag Heuer. See, the thing about Tag Heuers is that they all have ETA movements in them, even though I don't think they're owned by Swatch. I don't think, are they? They might be by now. Who knows? Yeah, it's a good size. Hey, well, look, guys, I tell you, I went way over today. Once I got the buffering taken care of, and I know how to do it now. So if we have buffering in the future, I can do it before it takes off. Thanks for coming by. You had some great comments, great bunch today. Thank you a million times. Take care. Have a great rest of your weekend too.